Okay, so I'm gonna let you know right now that there's probably gonna be some like intense lighting shifts because there's a window right here. I use natural lighting for my videos and I can't do anything about like shade or whatever because I have a wall of plants that need the light to live. So if the lighting changes dramatically, I'm so sorry about it. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is October and this is my channel Nerd Boy Reads, a place in which I talk about books and manga and everything else I've been, reading and loving recently, or reading and not loving recently. And today, I know it may be just a touch early, just a little bit, but my favorite season is upon us. The spooky season. October, Halloween. There's a reason why I named myself after this month. I love everything about this month. The vibe, the way the atmosphere changes, the fact that I can watch horror every single day and not be judged by it, even though I could do that all the time. But whatever, it feels more appropriate in October. So today I'm going to be setting my October TBR, which is all horror of varying genres, varying, degrees of spooky, just whatever gives me, the scary fall vibes. That's what I'm going for, and that's what I'm gonna get. It's pretty ambitious, my TBR for this month. I got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Approximately 11 books right now as of setting this video, making this whatever, picking things from my shelf. It could expand, it could contrast as the month goes along. I don't know. We'll see how we get there, but all of them are horror or horror adjacent, and that means to me it's supposed to be scary and spooky, but it's really not that intense or whatever. So I'm going to start with those, the not so spooky ones, which are more middle grade, YA, whatever. And the first one I want to read is The Empty Grave by Jonathan Stroud. This is the final book in the Lockwood & Co. series, and it is, like I said, the last book, so I can't really tell you much about what this is, but the series as a whole is about Lucy Carlisle, who can hear ghosts and kind of see them depending on the situation, and she joins Lockwood & Co., an independent ghost fighting agency, and they solve ghost crimes. It has taken me a while to read this series because I could never find the last two, and someone's gonna laugh about this. I found the last two in Nebraska after months and months and probably at least a year of trying to find the last two books, 4 and 5 in this series, and then I walk into Barnes & Noble the other day and they're just right there out of nowhere. Whatever, I'm not bitter about it. Regardless, I wanted to read this month, September, but I'm not going to. I'm going to save it for October because it is kind of horror adjacent. It's very spooky. It's very atmospheric. It's set in some form of London. I'm not good with time periods, but old-timey, steampunky London, and it is very ghostly adjacent. It's very vibe-ish, and sometimes it's spooky and tense, but it's more tense than I would anticipate for a middle grade. This is a children's book. It's a middle grade children's book, but it gets kind of intense sometimes. There was some parts in the last book that I read, the 4th book, which I'll get to probably this month. Oh no, I did that, whatever. I put it in one of my wrap-ups, last month's wrap-up, I believe, so go check out that video if you want my full review of it. It got a little more intense than I was anticipating. There was this part that I literally was sitting up in bed reading, just gripping the pages, just wanting to get through it because I'm this is wild. I really enjoy this series. My friend got me the first one a while ago, and then I finally picked up the rest of them over the years because, again, impossible to find the last two. So I'm finally going to finish the Lockwood & Co. series in October, and it makes sense because it's about ghosts and ghost crimes and potential immortality and just children being children, but it's fun, the fun kind of children being children. So I'm really looking forward to reading this, and yeah. About this last one briefly in one of my haul videos. This is Bendy and the Ink Machine Dreams Come to Life. I don't know what this is about. I think this is about a guy who gets a job working at the people who created Bendy in the first place, his Factory. And I loved the Bendy and the Ink Machine game, which is why I picked up this book. There's also like a user manual or like an employee handbook out, but I found this one on clearance at a half-price book, so it's in really good condition, so I just kind of decided to pick it up, and I'm gonna read it in October because it's another one of those young adult YA, probably not gonna be really intense horror books that really just fill up the vibe of fall for me. So I'm definitely gonna read this one. I don't know much about it. Bendy is really good. I have a little figurine of him on my bookshelf. Hold on. Tiny golden Bendy. I don't know if it'll focus, but I'm gonna, maybe if I block out my face, it'll focus on him. But yeah, I have a tiny golden Bendy, and I love him dearly. I love the games dearly, despite all the drama. I know about majority of the drama that's going on beyond, like, around the series, but the book is still, like, the video game itself is still really good, and if they ever put out the second one, I would watch the playthrough. So yeah, Bendy dreams come to life. The last one in, there's a gnat. The last one in this not so spooky, scary skeletons section of Halloween stuff is a book that just came out in paperback, so that's why I waited for it. If you are new to my channel, or if you just watch my videos in general, I don't know how much I mention it, but I love V.E. Schwab's works, and I'm collecting all of them in varying degrees. But I finally got Bridge of Souls by V.E. Schwab. This is her middle grade horror series. It's about Cassidy Blake, who travels the world with her parents, who run a ghost blog that got turned into a TV show. So now she travels across the world looking at haunted locations with her parents, but no one knows that she can actually see ghosts, and she has a best friend who's a ghost, and they just go on and cause a lot of ghost shenanigans. I read the first two books, I think it was last year, because they're really easy to get through, so they take me like a day each, but I had to wait until this one came out in paperback because I am collecting these in paperback. The first book was okay, but it was kind of middle grady, but the second book really delved into the characters in ways that I wasn't expecting, especially for a middle grade. There's a lot of depth to the relationship between Cassidy Blake, her parents, and her ghost friend, and just seeing all of it culminate into what it did in the second book, and the hint of what is happening in the third book really has me hooked, and I cannot wait to read this and get back into this world. I know I probably shouldn't get too hype about this because it has been said that this series has been put on indefinite hiatus, so V.E. Schwab can work on her older works, like I know there's a new one in my favorite series, the Villain series is getting a new entry sometime soon, and I'm like having an aneurysm about it. She has a new Threads of Power series, which is a spin-off of the Shades of London series, which is another one of my favorites. And then she has this other series about techno New York and a lady assassin there, which sounds really dope. So this has been put on hiatus. I hope it doesn't leave off on a cliffhanger or something, 'cause I will be kind of upset. But if it just ends really nicely and it becomes like a trio in itself, I'd be pretty happy with it, because this series is really good. They're really quick reads, and they don't leave me too spooked. There are some things that stick in my mind, especially in the second book, but it's a really like cozy spooky series, you know? So definitely gonna read this in October, or maybe I still have a couple days in September. I'll let you know. Now we move on to the adult books, the adult horror books. This is the stuff that's really gonna like hopefully get me squirming and like disgusted and just out of my mind scared, or at least nervous while reading the book, because I'm not really I haven't really found a horror book that like truly rattled me. Like, I know there are some out there. People say there are some out there all the time. I just haven't found any for myself. But I have high hopes for this first one, which is The Troop by Nick Cutter. This is about a group of Boy Scouts who go on a trip to an island and discover a man who literally is like eating everything, and it comes to find out that he's infected with this parasite that everyone is also now infected with, and it's like Lord of the Flies on crack is what I've heard it described as, or something adjacent to that, but whatever. I'm really hoping this devolves into something gross and grimy and potentially cannibalistic, because you can't just tell me that there's a disease that makes people eat everything and not expect me to expect cannibalism. Like, I believe wholeheartedly that there should be cannibalism in this book, but if it carries itself well enough, I may give it a pass. But like, cannibalism, I mean, I have high hopes for this book. I hear really good things about Nick Cutter as an author and his books in general, especially this one. I heard that there's one about a cult that I may end up picking up because I'm in a really culty mood. So I'm probably gonna end up picking up a couple books in October that do deal with cults. So I picked this up a while ago, but I just haven't read it because I wanted to save it for October. But I may switch into being a person who reads horror throughout the year, because I think I can do it. It fits my vibe. But like, finding unique horror is kind of hard. You know what I mean? Like, not to shit on any author or anything, but like, it has to hit certain vibes for me, and not a lot of them do. But maybe I'll just read a lot of horror. The library is a thing. Maybe I'll start going back to the library. Anyway, this one is one I'm really excited for, and I hope it gets gross. Like V.E. Schwab's Bridge of Souls, this is one that I have waited to collect the paperback in, and that is Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix. This is about a group of girls who get together and discuss the varying traumas that they have been through, because they have been deemed final girls who have survived some sort of trauma, and all of a sudden the people in their group start disappearing and dying. There's another book like that called The Final Girls by Riley Sager, which I also may end up picking up because I do love a good slasher horror, and this seems like it's gonna be one of them. I needed to pick this up in paperback because I am collecting all of Grady Hendrix's books in paperback because A, they're cheaper, and then B, that's how I picked up Horror Store and My Best Friend's Exorcism. I just like the paperback versions of his works better, and I'm just gonna keep collecting them that way. I really am looking forward to reading this because this is one of his most recent ones. I know he has another one coming out soon about a haunted house, like how to sell a haunted house, which I'm really interested in. I can't wait till that comes out, but I am going to wait till it gets out in paperback like I did with Final Girl Support Group. So maybe that'll be on my next October TBR. But for now, I'm going to put this on there because it's a horror book and I'm really excited to read it. So I'm really excited to read all of these. Take a shot every time I say that in one of my videos. I think I said that before because I say I'm really excited to read a lot of things, and it's true. I wouldn't have picked it up if I'm not excited to read it, right? Right? It makes sense. Whatever. We have a dramatic angle shift because I'm trying to keep all this brightness off my face, but it's not really working because where I record, which is on my bed, there is not a lot of places to move, but this is the best I can do, and the angle is fine, so it's no different than what you're used to, but yeah, we'll see how this goes for now. Moving on. Next book has gotten a lot of attention recently. This author, I should say, has gotten a lot of attention recently because they have had some of their works go into hardback when they're usually paperback, so that's gotten a lot more attention. But I picked this one up in paperback because it's the first one of his works that I've seen in a store until the new fancy hardbacks come out. But I'm thinking I'm going to collect this author's work in paperback if I like it. So I'm going to start with You've Lost a Lot of Blood by Eric LaRocca. This is very vaguely defined. Like, there's no, like, this is what's on the back. Each precious thing I show you in this book is a holy relic from the night we both perished. The night when I combed you from my hair and watered the moon with your blood. Like, what is that supposed to mean? But I read the first couple pages and I can now tell you that this is about a woman who discovers that her brother has a lover and they are both serial killers, and this is kind of a dedication to them and their text messages that show kind of what happened in their relationship that made them into serial killers. I'm trying to find an angle that this won't wash this book out. But I've heard that his work, that Eric LaRocca's books get gross. I heard that they're very graphic. I think I'm pretty sure that's this author. I hear that it's really well written. I hear that it's strange, and that's really what I'm looking for. Like this cover, if you can see it in the lighting and lack thereof, is spectacular. Like I expect good things from this book, and it's relatively short, so I should be able to get through it pretty quickly, and I hope to enjoy it. Like I'm looking for weird, I'm looking for disgusting, I'm looking for controversial, and that seems to be what this book promises from what I know about the author. So if I like this book, I'm going to be on the lookout for their other work, which is Things Have Gotten Worse Since We've Last Spoken, and a couple other things, but this is, but yeah, I don't know where I'm going with the end of the sentence, but I'm going to read this, hopefully I like it, and then if I can find more of his work, their work, in paperback, I'll pick it up. This next one I don't know a lot about. Like I've read the back a couple times, but I've tried to keep it like a secret from myself because that's how I like to go into horror. But I have seen it on a couple shelves, and that is Goth by Otsuchi. This is about a girl who is obsessed with murder, and someone tries to become friends with her, but somehow some murders start up in their town, and they go investigating it. I think that's what it sums up on the back, so I don't know what else to expect from this book. The cover is really cool, and so is the back, like, little illustration there. So, I haven't heard a lot of people talking about this. I think I've seen it on, like, one or two shelves, like, one or two people talking about it. So, I don't know what to expect from this book. I'm just gonna read it. I hope this is gonna be another slasher book. Like I said earlier, slasher genre is one of my favorite subgenres of horror. So I believe either way I'm gonna like this, simply for the fact that it's like survival slasher horror type stuff, and I'm really into that. Plus I think it's translated. Yeah, I think this is a translated work, and I'm trying to get more into that. And this is going to be my first translated horror book, because I read a couple translated, like, literary fiction, just general fiction, and then plus manga, but I don't think those count in this video. Whatever. I am looking forward to reading this. Again, I gotta stop saying that. Another slasher! We have Fantastic Land by Mike Bachman. This is about a serial killer who gets loose in an amusement park, which is almost like that movie Hellfest, which is about a serial killer who gets loose in an amusement park. I don't care that they're similar. I'm gonna enjoy it. I loved Hellfest. I'm probably gonna love this. It's a slasher, so it already gets good votes from me. I just held on to it. I've had this for a while, like many of the books on my shelf, but I held off on this specifically because I wanted to rewatch Hellfest in October and then read this to see how they compare, even though it's probably just a coincidence that they're together. But I still find it funny that there are two pieces of media out there that have similar vibes, which what is that one I just picked up? The Lockwood & Co. series, and Jacoby, which is about people in London who solve ghost crimes. I love it. I love it. I love it. This is gonna be great. I get good vibes from this book. I'm gonna love it. I am already putting it down as one of the books that I'm gonna love. So yeah, ready for it. I'm ready for blood and gore, and the lighting is changing again. And my light that I use, my external lighting source, died, so we're gonna do another dramatic camera shift so I can find better lighting. I swear, when I started recording, there was so much light. There was so much that's why I picked right now to record. There was natural lighting. I didn't have to use my external source. And then my external source died. And then the clouds came in. I have two more books. We're gonna get through them together. First one, the penultimate one that I want to talk about right now is Devil House by John Darnell. I think that's how you pronounce it, Darnell. If I'm mispronouncing it, I'm sorry, but I believe this is a haunted house book about a guy who goes back to his childhood home and finds it covered in ghosts or demons or whatever. I don't know what I've heard about this book. I can't remember hearing anything about it. I saw it in half-price books, and I picked it up. That's all the knowledge that I have for this book. I think it's a haunted house. Did you hear that crispy spine? Yeah. I can't take the dust jacket off, which is disappointing. Like, it's taped to the book. So I'm guessing this is an old library copy, but there's nothing really on the naked hardback anyway, which is kind of disappointing. But I like taking the dust jackets off when I read hardbacks because they're easier to transport that way without ruining the dust jacket. I don't know why I'm explaining this when I should be talking about this book, but I picked it up, and it's a horror book, or at least a thriller, I guess. I can't remember a single thing about this book other than it could potentially be a haunted house book. And that's all I really needed to know. I don't have a lot of experience with haunted house as a subgenre of horror. I own The Haunting of Hill House over there on my shelf. So I may read that this year too, if I have time. But I have a lot of YA middle grade, and those are really easy for me to get to, so maybe I have time to pick it up. But I think this is going to be my first haunted house, unless you count Paranormal Activity as a haunted house. And then I've seen The Boy, but the twist, whatever. Ooh, it's a haunted house. It counts as a haunted house to me. It's a haunted house in my heart. I think this is gonna be one of the first, especially in like book form. I think. Yeah. I hope it doesn't disappoint. Like this has a high bar to clear if it's my first haunted house book that I've read. That'd be funny. I hope, God, that's a lot of pressure on this book now. It'll live up to it. It will. And next, we have something that could potentially terrify me in life because of who I am as a person and what some of my deepest fears are in life. And that is Dead Silence by S.A. Barnes. This is a space horror book. This is about a space salvage crew who comes across a long abandoned missing spaceship, and they go loot it, and it doesn't turn out great. So I don't know why I do this to myself. I said this when I first picked this book up when I got back from Nebraska. This came in the same lot as the Bendy book, because I got these both kind of at the same time. Space terrifies me. It's one of the few things in life that actually give me existential dread to think about. And anything set in space, like the Magnus Archives did a whole couple episodes about like space because of what the Magnus Archives is as a podcast in general. And those are the things that get me. The prospect of that much stuff that we don't know about, that like makes you feel so small and insignificant, that like an entire ship, a big, potentially huge spaceship getting lost and found centuries potentially after it's been disappeared, and people have crossed space so much and yet they didn't find it until now, horrifies me. It's too big. And I do this to myself because I'm trying to get, and now the sunlight's back. But regardless, we're just gonna sit here and you're gonna see how washed out my face gets because of the sun, and you're just gonna have to deal with it 'cause I'm dealing with it. But regardless, space scares me. What could be out there scares me. And I do this. I want to be scared, I guess. And I guess this is how I'm gonna do it. I can't wait to read it though. Like, I've heard pretty solid things about it. Like, I don't look up ratings or whatever, especially for books that I own. I don't look up reviews. I don't listen to reviews about books that I really am interested in or books that I own and haven't read yet. I don't read reviews, so I've seen a couple people hold this up, is the best I can describe it. So I'm looking forward to reading it. Like, with everything else on this list. Yeah. So that is my tentative, loose, well, pretty strict October TBR. I do have a couple more things that I could throw up here. Like, I have a collection of Edgar Allan Poe short stories. I have The Haunting of Hill House. I have Horseman. I have a bunch of stuff that I could throw up here if I have a time to read them. But I have 11 books right there. And it may not get in. It may not. I may just throw more horror on here as we go along. I may exclude things. I may include things. I may push some back to November. Who knows? I don't. I'm just kind of going with the flow. But for now, these are the books that I want to read in October. They are horror, and I'm going to enjoy every single one of them. I am speaking that into existence for me. I'm going to love every single book that I have on this TBR. That's my manifestation for this week. Anyway, that's my TBR. This has been Nerdboy Reads. I've been October. Hope you liked this video. Leave a like, leave a comment, follow me on Instagram at Nerdboy Reads. I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!